Today's video is another episode of my favorite YouTube series, New and Must-Have Crafty Supplies, where I try out some new supplies and share the ones that I love with you. Today is also a Destash giveaway because I still have boxes of stuff that need to get out so I can bring new product in. So if you have a valid US address, please watch until the very end and listen to the details of how to enter to win. But for now, let's take a look at some of the items that I chose for my list this month. We have a super fun die set from Concord and Ninth, a really beautiful stamp set from Catherine Pooler, a fun new ink splatter from Spellbinders. Also from Spellbinders, a great way to organize the supplies that you're using while you're in mid-project. So first, let's jump in and take a look at all the items that I've chosen for my list this month. I did want to note that this month, everything that I'm sharing today is something that I purchased for myself. So these are the Concord and Ninth Just Calling dies. I also did grab the stamp set that goes along with it, and you kind of need it for the dial for the phone, but it also has some really cute sentiments, and there's a spinner that's involved here, and it's got some really cute images for that as well. So when I have my eye on something and I keep going back to it, that's a sign that I really probably should buy it. And that's what happened with this set. I just thought it was so cute. It's been a long time since I've seen a rotary phone, and I thought that was just adorable. This is the Scripted Thoughts stamp set from Catherine Pooler. It's got a great script block as well as a splatter stamp or two. This is the Stax organizers from Spellbinders. Now, these are kind of slim boxes that fit on top of each other. They layer on top of each other. I bought the stack that has 2 medium and 1 large, and I thought these would be great for mid-project items. So if you have to walk away from a project and you don't want it all over your desk, I think that's a great way to organize them. Next up, we have the Spellbinders Splatter White. I just want to show you, it's a teeny tiny little jar. It's 0.25 ounces, so I don't want you to be upset or surprised by it. It also looks kind of funky when you open up the lid and tear off that protective seal. I'll show you in a little bit how you can mix it up and then use it, but what I'm going to do first is just use the little bit that's on this protective seal on the bottom because I don't want to waste any of it. It's very pigmented. It's a gorgeous bright white, and you just need to mix it with a little bit of water and it will start to turn into something that you can actually use to splatter on cardstock. It is very opaque and white and would be great for a snow effect, for a starry effect, and then just for an artistic effect of splatter on your background, which is something that I like to use a lot. So I thought this would be great, and I'm telling you, even though it's a tiny little jar, it's going to last forever. Now, let's use those new supplies to make some cards. So first I want to use the Just Calling dies and stamps to make the spinner card. I'll show you later how to make the phone without using the spinner piece, but for now I do want to show you how easy it is to make this spinner. So here's all the pieces for the phone itself. It has a base, it has the receiver, it has little detail points on the receiver and on the base as well. That would be kind of like the feet underneath the phone there. So I've cut these all out of Concord and Ninth cardstocks, and I'll link to the colors that I use down in the description box below. And I'll just use a little bit of the My Sweet Petunia Precision Glue Press. I have been asked if I'm still using it, if I still like it. I definitely do. I'm kind of at the end of a bottle now, and so I'm noticing that I have to clear out the nib every once in a while with the cap. But other than that, I find it much easier to squeeze at the end of the bottle with a handle than trying to squeeze the bottle itself. But back to the dies for now. So I'm using an embellishment tool to put these tiny little die cut pieces onto the phone. Nothing is super, super tiny where it's just really difficult to piece it together. For the dial, where you would put your finger in and then turn, I wanted to pop it up a little bit because That's how that piece is popped up so that you can stick your finger in there and then rotate the dial. So there you go. It's going to go over this white piece. Now this white piece has little circles embossed on it, and that's how you line up the numbers from the stamp onto the dial itself. This piece is the spinner piece. On this piece, the embossed areas are these little speech bubbles, and they go all around this spinner piece. So I've decided this is going to be a birthday card. So I'm stamping happy birthday, hello, I love you, hip hip hooray, and let's get together. Then on the other little speech bubbles, I'm stamping the images that come in that stamp set. There's a heart, a birthday present, a star, a little grouping of hearts, and more. So once I have it all stamped out, I can just use the spinner to create the spinner aspect on the card. Next, we're going to take a card base. This is a top folding A2 card base. I am opening it up so that we're going to work on the front. This die is a guide that's going to cut out the little speech bubble and a hole that you're going to work with as the spinner. And right at the bottom, it has the instructions. It says place cardstock right above this little guide bar. So now once I cut it out, it's perfectly placed so that everything will fit on the card. The other thing that the spinner says in the center, there's a little circle that says glue 1. So put a little dot of glue there and then glue these little circles that you can die cut out. There is a die that cuts all 4 of them out. And then it says glue 2, glue 3, glue 4. You're basically stacking up little discs that are going to stick through the hole in the cardstock base, and that's what the dial is going to go on, so that when you spin it, you're going to see different messages or images in the little speech bubble cutout. So next up, we have to adhere the phone. So keeping the spinner back there, I'm going to adhere the phone right on top so that the little hole in the phone goes around that little popped up piece of cardstock. Now, make sure that the cardstock that you use to die cut those little discs is as thick as your card base. I didn't, and I had to add some discs because my cardstock for the card base was very heavyweight, and for the discs, I didn't cut the same weight. Okay, but then next it tells you to put the little spinner or the little dial for the phone on top. I'm not touching the dial yet because it's still drying, and I'll place this little circle on top. That's what the phones used to look like, but I can turn it from the back and you can still get the main idea here. This is the phone cord, so I'll put a little bit of adhesive behind it. I really should have put the receiver on first and then this piece, but I wasn't sure how it was all going to work. So I did decide to cut out 2 other phone receivers to stack those on top of each other so that they had some dimension as well, so that it wasn't just the dial that was popped up. So you can see here, I'm not exactly sure how to place this receiver so that it can be hooked up to the phone cord, but I got it, and that still looks cute, even though I probably would have had it pointed down just a little bit more. I stamped just calling to say from the stamp set on a strip of the same cardstock that I used for the phone, and then place that at the bottom of the card base. Now I'm taking the little splatter stamp from that Catherine Pooler set and stamping with some Concord and 9th inks so that they match the cardstock, just to create a little bit of a splattered background. Now that everything's dry, you can see that you can turn the dial on the phone, and each time you turn it, you can see a different message or a different image in the little window of the speech bubble. I think this is so ingenious. It was so easy to put together. As long as you remember to use the same weight of cardstock for the discs and the card base, you should be good to go. Very simple, and also use a really sturdy glue, a great liquid glue, and then let it fully dry before you start turning that dial. But I just love this card so much. Okay, so here I have another card that I'm going to create, and I placed all the pieces inside that little Spellbinders organizing box. And that's exactly what I mean. When I die cut all these things and stamped the dial, I didn't have time to put it together. So I put it all in that box so I know it's all together and I won't lose any of these little pieces. So this time we're not making a spinner, we're just creating the cute little phone. And I'm using similar colors but in a different combination. This time the phone is pink and the dial is that cute blue. I have also a really light pink, that's that, I think, ballerina pink at the base of the phone, and it will be on the receiver places where you put your ear and talk as well. Okay, so for this one, you're just going to, I like to pile up that cardstock again, so 3 pieces of that blue to make the dial, and then place a little bit of liquid adhesive behind that and place it on top of the stamped white disc that I created off camera. Now I can place a little bit of liquid glue right on the phone and just place that dial right on top because I don't have to worry about the spinner or where it's going to go on the card base or anything like that. So here are those little detail pieces on the receiver. You can see that the cord that I have there is another die for the cord, and it creates a really shorter cord. You could also use those little images in the center of the phone. I think that's so cute. So I put the little heart in there. Then I have just calling to say I heard the big news. So I stamped those right on the card base. And now I'll place the receiver down first. This time it's going to be hung up on the phone. So it's straight across. Then I'll pop up the phone itself and place that on top. So it looks like the receiver is hung up on the phone, and then adhere the cord down from the receiver to the phone itself. Here I've mixed the Splatter White up so you can see that you do get a decent amount at the bottom of this little tiny jar. I know it doesn't look like a lot, but you don't need what I put on my brush here. This was like a ton of Splatter White. You really only need a teeny tiny amount and then some water, and it will create a really great opaque splatter. So here I've already created this card, so I'm covering up different pieces so that I can get the splatter down. And then I decided to use the splatter stamp as well. Another really cute card even without the spinner. For this card, I'm just using the stamp set. I have the new creamsicle ink from Catherine Pooler, and I'll stamp that script block on a piece of cardstock that I cut down to just be slightly larger than that script block. And then on top of the script, I'll stamp those splatters. So I have a splatter in the upper left, in the lower right, and then the larger pieces of the splatter in the center. I'm going to place one of the sentiments right on top of all that and stamp it with black ink. I'll take that and place it down on some of that light pink cardstock and use it as a mat. Next, I have a little more Splatter White, and I'll place that. See that tiny, tiny little bit that I used from the jar? That's all you need to create all of that splatter. So really, you get a lot. It will last you a long time, but it is, I just want to warn you, a tiny little jar. So this is how gorgeous you can create this stamp set. It is out of stock right now, but click the notify me button and you will get notified as soon as it's back in stock. Now that you've made it all the way through the video, I want to share the details about the giveaway. So if you have a valid US address, please fill out the Google form that is underneath this video in the YouTube description box. Please remember that I won't be using the comment section to choose the winners or to notify the winners. I will be using the Google form to choose the winners, and then I will email those winners directly. So if you get something like a comment that looks like it's from me, even if it has my picture on it, it's not from me. It is spam. So don't send anybody money. Don't give them your phone number. I will never ask for either of those. I will email you directly for your mailing address. That being said, thank you so much for supporting my channel. I do appreciate all of you, even though I can't open these particular giveaways up to international crafters. I will have one very soon that is open to everyone because it is a gift card. So stay tuned for that, and I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. You planning on staying in here while I'm filming? You're going to be nice and quiet. Not going to bark at anybody. Being real good, huh? What a good boy. Another episode. Oh, you want to leave? That didn't last.